Hey, what's up? This is Fantasy Feeling with DFS Army, and we are doing another Millie Maker review. We're looking back at Week 10, what won the Millie Maker. We're going to look at some top DFS players in the world, see what they did on the slate, a little cash lineup review, and then I'm going to share some surprising statistics I found from looking back at past years of the Millie Maker. It's a new trend, very much key to how we're going to continue to build. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so let's hop into the winning lineup over on Fantasy Labs, courtesy of Fantasy Labs. So, and by the way, if you guys like these breakdowns, let me know. Hit that like button. Let me know how you did this week in your DFS contest, whether it was a Millie Maker or other large field contest, small field, cash. Let me know how you did this week. But so the winning Millie Maker lineup, this is actually one of the crazier stacks that I've seen in a minute. And the Millie Maker, it's actually the thickest primary stack we've had this year. We got a Baker Mayfield to Egbuka, Tez Johnson, and Kate Otten. So Baker Mayfield +3 with a Travion Henderson bring back. I think what's a little crazy about this to me is we've had some games that have absolutely gone off this year, much higher scoring than this, and they didn't even produce quarterback +3 with a bring back. So I think what's different here, though, is like you got a very centralized target share. A lot of these times, like you're guessing, right? Like last week, it was like, yeah, Caleb went off, but like Adunze had a donut. So that killed like a ton of lineups. Where this was like the quarterback plus his primary pass catcher with Ibuka and Tez, the other guy who's been the guy, with Godwin and Evans out. And you got the tight end, Kate Otten, who's also like been dependable whenever we've had Godwin and Evans out. So it's been a target share that you can nail here. And then Travion Henderson, once we got news that Ramondre Stevenson was out, yeah, it was kind of disappointing what Travion Henderson had gotten, the past opportunities, up to this point in the season, but just bet on the talent. The price is right. Bet on the talent. Good spot. Game environment that we liked, and Travion Henderson came through. So QB +3 with a bring back. And oh my gosh. Then the next two spots, Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs, just running backs that absolutely nuke the slate. 43 points from Achane and 41 from Gibbs. So really good score here. You got over 80 points here between these two guys. 84 points, just crazy. To get this kind of production from the running backs, really had three running backs. And with that, produced over 100 points, 110, over 110 points. Crazy. And then Juwan Jennings, got to get an A on the group assignment, but didn't, really carry the load like the rest of the team, but still got the A. 4,600, 18 points. That's almost 4x. So it's good enough essentially for a 4,600 player, because you had Tez Johnson at 4,500 who got 20 points. So, he got you over 4x. You got Kate Otten at 3,900, got 17 points. And then we had the Jets D, 2,900. Jets D got us 6x. So, and low own. So this was one of the top leverage plays on the slate. A lot of people kind of flocked to the Browns. They flocked to the other side of this game. So that was what was great about this. The Browns were chalk, but the Jets were contrarian. And that is a chalk buster. I love that. Like, not only are you getting the contrarian play, but it's a direct leverage play off of the chalk with the New York Jets defense here. And it was 2,800. So anytime you have a defense under 3K that ends up, being one of the top leverage plays on the slate, you set the rest of the lineup up to do really well. And, one thing I want to point out here is this is a running back in the flex lineup. And, I looked back I got seasonal totals that I look at, and I have a Millie Maker spreadsheet every year. So I look at, total points, like average score, total ownership, and what are the trends in the flex. And running back, wide receiver, tight end, how much is each appearing in the flex? And, if we were looking on FanDuel, it would be even more extreme. But what's surprising to me is DraftKings is a full PPR site, so it favors wide receiver in the flex. And that's historically how it's been. However, there has been a shift in the past several years. So what you saw in 2023 was running back in the flex 33% of the time. So that would favor the wide receiver, right? Well, last year, 2024, running back was in the flex 44% of the time in the winning lineups. So you saw an increase there of 11% between 2023 and 2024, which was very much closer to, almost a 50-50 split between running back and wide receiver. So far in 2025, what we are seeing is 70% of winning lineups have running back in the flex. So that is up 26% from 2024. Now, we've got 9 weeks. We're 10 weeks. We're just over halfway through the season. That might regress back to the mean. Maybe we'll get more wide receivers and it'll be closer to what we saw in 2024, or maybe it'll be, like, I don't know, 55%, running back in the flex by the end of the season. But you can't deny that from 2023 to 2025, we have jumped up significantly from 33% in 2023 to 44% in 2024 to now through 10 weeks, 70%. Running back stock is up. I think I'm about to go back test the entire season and see my results with the DFS Army's domination station, which is, something that we do a lot in the off season. But once you get a larger sample size, we love doing it in season too, and seeing maybe I've been too restrictive on running back in the flex, just based on years and years of data, and you could start to see the shift in the trend. So I really think it's time that we give more credence to running back in the flex going forward in our lineups. I've certainly been adjusting for it this year, but I don't think I've been adjusting for it enough. And I think maybe it's time to have the conversation that 100% in the flex is possible for running back in any given week, regardless of awesome value. So we'll continue. I'll back test that certainly, and we will continue to track it. But I just thought that was a really good trend. And let's look at the second lineup before we jump into the MLB strategy of top DFS pros. So we got Jay Velazzi 40, second place. This was a Jacoby Brissett, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride. Yeah, Marvin Harrison. This was so interesting because I was watching the game and Trey McBride was smashing, and I was like, that's awesome. I love it. But also, there's no way that they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. to be a side seat. He drafted him 4th overall to be a side seat to Trey McBride, to ride shotgun. It just doesn't make sense. It's just a weird use of assets. But then, I was watching Red Zone and didn't watch the full game. And I definitely need to go back and watch this because I'm very curious. Marvin Harrison ended up with 12 targets. And, he only caught 3 balls. And from what I saw watching it on Red Zone, it looked like there was just a lot of uncatchable balls. So I'm going to have to go back and watch this, but they clearly did try to get him involved. It just wasn't there. But this was, a good, I think, double stack. He's cheap at 5,300. Like the ceiling is there. That he can, we've seen 30+ point games from him before. So 5,300, love that price. Trey McBride obviously smashed. This was a double tight end, and these were the tight ends you needed, McBride and Kittle. Parkin Washington had a pretty good day. Nico Collins had a pretty good day. 6,700. And then obviously Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs. So really close, 237 points. It's crazy. It was one of those slates that it was like you had to have the perfect combination because I had several lineups over 200 with a 200-point score. And, obviously, still ended up taking a loss in large field GPPs, but really was just a 1-versus-1 away. Like Jahmyr Gibbs, you had to have Gibbs. He was the guy to have, but there were like a lot of like really good plays, like Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane. He was a great play. Obviously, you really had to nail the running backs, and you also had to avoid the duds at wide receiver to be able to win the slate. And JSN, had a pretty good game, but not a tournament winning score. Amon-Ra did not have the score you needed. Neither did Puka. So those were the 3 chalk plays of the slate, and you needed other guys to really take it home, like Jameson Williams. Like if you paid up at running back and you paid down a wide receiver, that was the play on the slate. Third place. Let's see what third place did. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to see a 6,700 player in 2 of the top 3 builds with a 25, like not even have flames. And that was just the story of the slate because the chalk expensive wide receivers failed. The running backs carried the lineups. And this was so crazy. Like the Jaguars were smashing the most of the day, and they ended up with like 11 points or whatever, which was fine for 2,600. But they just had a total meltdown, and obviously, the Texans came back, and Davis Mills lineups they were pretty close. They were pretty close. Let's see what fourth place did, and then we'll look at fifth place and get in strategy, MME strategy. So Baker, Ibuka, Tez Johnson, Cade Otton. This is almost what we saw take it down. This one had Gibbs and Achane. Great. Also Trey McBride. Really the difference between this and first place was a 2-versus-2 of McBride. So McBride over Henderson and the New Orleans defense. So really you wanted Henderson and the Jets. But I mean, defense, tight end and defense, the 2 highest positions of volatility, even though Trey McBride smashed here. Henderson outscored him, and then obviously the Jets did too. So no surprise there. Goff, fifth place, Goff, Jameson. And this one is without Gibbs, which is surprising. So Theo, that's crazy. Yeah, I guess this lineup just had Goff to Jameson, which was a good, +1. Achane, Kyron, decent score for Kyron. Trevion smashed. Adunze, decent score for Adunze. Ibuka and Jets D. Anyways, let's see what Utica did. All right, so Utica, always interesting to look at his exposures because I listened to him on Friday, and he has a take on Friday, and then oftentimes you see the adjustments from a player like Utica because comes with a take on Friday and obviously has a different approach on Sunday because we get all the news that comes out. So he didn't really have any strong stands, which was interesting. He liked McCarthy from what I was hearing on Friday. He liked McCarthy a good amount. And let me look at this. Liked McCarthy, liked Jefferson. Didn't really like Dowdle if McMillan was out. Ended up just being slightly under on Dowdle. So it wasn't that he didn't like Dowdle. It was totally a McMillan thing because he thought they would stop the run. He ended up his concerns with Dowdle were actually right because he ended up fading him a little bit, just being under the field, not way over the field. But obviously, it probably would have been, from what I was hearing from him, probably would have been way under the field if McMillan had actually, been out that game. He liked Goff doubles, and really didn't have a ton of him. So it's always interesting to see. And this lineup clearly had a lot of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Yeah, so Allen, Lamar, and Drake May were his three quarterbacks over 10%. And I get that. And what a bummer. I liked Josh Allen too. He ended up salvaging the day. It was a decent day, but he could have done so much better. Lamar, that was so disappointing. So disappointing. I thought one of Lamar or Josh Allen would smash. And I think the biggest problem, the reason why Lamar didn't smash is because Minnesota just it was a decent game, but you need them to be scoring to get the best version of Lamar. You need to kind of be back and forth, and they were just comfortable just kind of grinding that one out. So nothing too crazy at quarterback as far as exposures. At running back, obviously a little under on Rico Dowdle. Faded James Cook, but that makes sense because it's really going to be for the most part, it's going to be Josh Allen or James Cook. It's very rare that the two smash together unless the game goes absolutely nuclear. So it makes sense that he was over on Josh Allen and under on James Cook. Was over on Christian McCaffrey. So really crushed it with the Travion Henderson, 44%, Achane, 27%, just, slightly over the field. So good there. Didn't have a ton of Christian McCaffrey, so probably didn't hurt him a ton. And was able to fade James Cook. So that's kind of, they kind of cancel each other out there. And a little under Rico. So the running backs did not hurt Utica in this Millie Maker contest, rather. McBride, Kittle, crushed that. 25% Andrews, and a good amount of Hunter Henry. So I'm guessing he played we'll look at his actual lineups here in a second. I'm guessing he played a lot of double tight end based on these exposures here, because that is a lot of exposure to 4 tight ends. Zay Flowers, a lot of exposure to Zay Flowers, so double the field there, but had a good amount of Lamar, so that's not surprising. A lot of Puka, a lot of JSN, and a lot of Shakir. So, yeah, when I was looking at his lineups, I was a little surprised. Yep, his top lineup, 300th place. Trey McBride, George Kittle, so that's a double tight end. More double tight end. Josh Allen is Shakir. So you're seeing the, Allen +1. And one thing I was a little surprised at, thought maybe he might have some naked lineups with Allen. All of the Allen lineups that I saw, and I scrolled way down, they all had Shakir or Kincaid or Cook. And we're seeing a lot of a double tight end. So he clearly thought it was a double tight end week. And I think it projected that way, but it ended up being a running back in the flex week. Kind of just back to what I had started with on this show, that you kind of needed running back in the flex. And I think he made a lot of good calls. I think that's probably just what ended up kind of killing his potential to win first place, was just you get the Kittle and McBride lineups, but then you get Schultz and Laporta, and it's just not enough. You get Hunter Henry, one point. I believe he had like 20+% ownership to Hunter Henry. So yeah, kind of kills a lot of those lineups. Second May with a running back. I like that. It's different. It's unique for sure. Allen Shakir, more double tight end, Hawkinson. Yeah, so basically just Kittle smashed. Jawan Johnson did well, and McBride smashed. But yeah, a lot of these other tight ends just bombed. That one may double again. This one had Goff, Gibbs, Jamison Williams. So that honestly was I think the optimal lineup, I think, was a Goff, Gibbs, Jamison Williams lineup, but not enough of the field played that combination. Like, so you just didn't get there. Like me personally, I had a 219 score that was like 17th in a large field tournament that had a Goff, Gibbs, Jamison, Achane, but then it would have like I had like a Christian McCaffrey. I can't remember which one it was. I think I had a Christian McCaffrey, or you just had like one guy that just kind of killed it for you. It was like Puka or like JSN, like just didn't do enough at their salary to kind of get there. But I really think the Goff, Gibbs, Jameson was actually optimal. And then yeah, all these are Allen, Shakir. So this one is May and Hunter Henry. And yeah, that's the story. Just a lot of the really good plays, but was just this contest was just a little bit too high on the tight ends. So but yeah, let's kind of finish this out with my cash lineup review. Was not a good week for me in cash. I honestly, truth be told, if I didn't do cash lineup, content, like if I didn't do cash game content for DFS Army, I wouldn't have played cash this week. I found this to be one of the hardest weeks to build a cash lineup. And yet, like, I don't think I did terrible in cash, like as far as like just a construction and like results of that construction process. But yet when I looked at the cash, my past results of playing cash this week, I'm like, wow, I won 40%. So was not good for me in cash. And really, I think I could point to a couple spots. Judkins obviously crushed me, and this is what's different and hard this week is I nailed the tight end. Jawan Johnson, 3,700, 19 points at 3,700. Achane, 43 points, and Jaguars D, 11 points. Like 9 times out of 10, if I get my tight end, my flex, and my defense, if I got flames on those, I'm crushing my cash games. But it wasn't this week because I just did not get enough from the rest of the lineup. And Judkins, I mean, Dowdle, like, there's no flames here. So it's not good. Judkins really, he bombed. I thought this was a great spot for him, just didn't get there. It's just a hard offense to predict week to week. So he's probably going to be out of cash consideration the rest of the week. It's just too good of a matchup for it not to have worked this week. So with Gabriel, I'd rather not. But Dowdle also got an early touchdown and then really did nothing. So I expected more from Dowdle. Flowers, yeah, I think at this price it would have been fine. I think his prop projection was like 15. So he didn't fall far off of that. It was more Slayton day. But I mean, at 5,300, Wandell didn't do bad. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., 15, 12 targets, 14 points. It's not nearly enough. So, and typically the way I like to play cash is I want one stud wide receiver to go along with stud running back in some good value running backs in good spots, and just wasn't able to get there this week. And, obviously I think that had a lot to do with it, but we'll get back to the cash line next week, back to the lab. But that's going to do it for the week 10 review, Millie Maker review. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because there's a lot of content coming your way, including draft battle tomorrow, first look videos start, showdown content, tournament tactics on Friday, underdog first look video, which I do. We got a lot of content, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. We will see you all in the next breakdown. Take care.